This week we want to talk about splatter films, and I want you folks to pay very close attention to the movie poster. And the reason I'm showing it to you is because this is the best part of the movie. It is far superior than the actual movie that you're about to watch. So pay close attention to how it actually captures the eye. You know, nothing so appalling in the annals of horror. It's got numerous blurbs about people young and impressionable should not be brought to the theater. And also, you have the blood red Blood Feast title at the bottom. And of course, a blurb for Connie Mason, the Playboy Playmate, who is an actress in it. Um, this is an awesome poster. But the movie itself is a piece of crap. So another term for a splatter film is an exploitation film. A splatter film is a basically the horror version of an exploitation film, and the idea of exploitation is that something and someone is being exploited. So, in some cases, you have the subject matter is of exploitation material. What is the most titillating? What is the most controversial? And then also, you, the audience, are being exploited because of the fact that the movie poster is much better than the movie. So you see this movie poster, you're attracted to come see this film, but it's not any good. But they did their job by getting you in there, and they've got your money, and then you're actually watching it. And in all likelihood, you'll probably tell someone about how terrible the movie is, and they'll have to come see it to actually believe that. Um, so the emphasis on these films, obviously, it's to make money, but it's on the exploitative subject matter and shock value. Story, acting, cinematography, not so important. Not very. Those are things that cost money. And when you make an exploitation or a splatter film, you want to spend as little money as possible actually making the film, but as much as possible, within your budget to actually promote the film to try to get people in there. So the good news is that these films have more blood and sex. And all the other good stuff than earlier horror films. So they were getting away with a lot of things that earlier horror films couldn't because they weren't tied to the Hollywood production code because they worked outside of Hollywood. These were made by hucksters and snake oil salesmen that would make these terrible, terrible films for very little money, and then they would drive around from state to state and try to sell them to drive-in theaters and places like that. This paved the way for the horror films of the 1970s and 80s, which have a similar aesthetic, especially the earlier stuff. Have you ever seen the original version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Last House on the Left, or The Hills Have Eyes? They all look pretty much like splatter films. And also, we could kind of credit these with the birth of real independent cinema as well. So Blood Feast, it's from 1963, very, very early in the splatter films. Directed by Herschel Gordon Lewis, who's considered one of the early kings of this. He specialized in making splatter and exploitation films. And there are actually two other films that go along with this. 2000 Maniacs and Color Me Blood Red, which the ideas for those films are great, but they're just really unwatchable. Blood Feast is watchable, but that's about it. So, what is this film about? We've got a string of unsolved murders, a mysterious Egyptian caterer, a young woman's birthday banquet coming up. How does it all come together? Well, you're going to figure it out a hell of a lot quicker than the cops do in this, and of course you know who the killer is from like the first 10 seconds of the film. So it's there's not a whole lot of mystery here, but you got a lot of blood, you got a lot of gore. So it's really hard to talk about this film theoretically or anything else because it's bad in a lot of ways, but it's so bad it's good in some respects. So enjoy that aspect of the film. But yeah, we're not going to really talk about this how this fits into history, except for the fact that it kind of does. But yeah, it fails on pretty much every level. But that's kind of fun in a way. All right, good luck. Have fun.